The Music of Erich Zann by H.P. Lovecraft. Explained by an idiot. An unnamed university student studying metaphysics moves into a neighborhood called the Rue d'Azur. The buildings there look kind of weird, and he notices that most of the people there are old. One night in his apartment, he hears really freaky music coming from the floor above him. He asked his landlord about it, and his landlord told him it's his upstairs elderly German neighbor named Erich Zann who works for a local orchestra. After a week of being kept up by the strange music, the student decided to meet Zann, so he accosted him in the hallway. At first, Zann was taken aback, but the student's friendly demeanor convinced him to let him go up to his room and listen to him play music. Once there, Zann played music for the student, but didn't play any of the strange notes that the student had heard from before. He asked Zann to play them and even whistled some of the notes. When he did that, Zann rushed to stop him from making the sound and fearfully glanced over at the window. The student tried to look out the window, realizing that it's probably the only place he could see the entire neighborhood from above. But Zann again stopped him and started trying to get him out of his apartment. This angered the student, and he yelled that he was leaving. Zann then sat the student down and wrote a note in bad French. This takes place in France, by the way, saying that he was an eccentric man, saying that he couldn't play his weird notes and didn't want anyone touching things in his room, especially not the window. He also requested that the student move to a lower floor so he couldn't hear him play the weird notes at night. The student did as he asked and moved to a lower floor. He was able to listen to Zann play a few more times in person, but never the wild notes, even though the student was fascinated by them and the urge to look out Zann's window. The student would sneak up the stairs to listen to the otherworldly music through Zann's locked door. Over time, Zann's music became more and more frantic, and he would no longer allow the student into his room at any time. One night, while listening, the music sounded extra crazy. He knocked on the door. The music stopped for a while, and he heard Zann struggling to get up from the floor. He knocked again and announced it was him. Zann let him in and had him sit down. He sat down himself and nodded blankly for a while. Then he started writing a bunch of stuff in German until he heard something from the window. Zann then played the craziest music yet. He kept getting louder and crazier. Something started to try to break through the window, eventually shattering it, the wind blowing everything in the room everywhere, including all the stuff he wrote down. The student looked out the window, expecting to see the town below, but all he saw was infinite darkness. The wind blew out the candles in the room. In the dark, the student felt something brush up against him. All the while, Zann kept playing the wild, crazy music. The student stumbled through the room, falling over several things. When he eventually was able to find Zann, he felt his skin and realized Zann was already dead, even though he was still playing the wild and crazy music. So the student not only ran out of the room, but ran out of the apartment building and then out of the neighborhood itself. He was never able to find the weird neighborhood again, even though it was only like a few blocks away from his university. He couldn't find it on any maps or any. Also, I usually leave links to the Lovecraft archive and audiobook versions of these stories in the descriptions of these videos if you want to read/listen to them yourself.